Hello, and welcome along to the next in the series of videos all about the chocolatey quick deployment environment. Now, as we mentioned on a previous video, I am working on my Mac here, and what I have available to me in terms of hypervisor is VMware Fusion. So what I've done is I've already downloaded the base image specifically for VMware. Now, there are other options available, so if you go back to the documentation, then you can find how you would set up the QDE image on different hypervisors. Now, I'm using VMware. You don't have to, but this is what I have available to me, and that's what I'm going to use as part of this demonstration. So with the main file downloaded, which was this 7-zip file here, I then went ahead and I have extracted that file to give me the VMDK file. That takes a little bit of time, so that's why I didn't do it as part of this video, but it's simple to do. On my Mac, I just double-clicked on this file, and on Windows, it would be a case of right-clicking and extracting that file. So with this file ready to go, I can then move over to VMware Fusion. So over here, I can click on the plus sign and click on New. And then in this window, I can say create a custom virtual machine. So in this one, we're looking for, ideally, we're looking for Windows Server 2019, if it's available in the menu. If it's not, we can fall back to using Windows Server 2016 or later. So in this case, I have Windows Server 2016, so I'm going to choose that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and click continue. When it comes to choosing the firmware type, what I'm going to need you to do here is click on Legacy BIOS rather than the UEFI option that's available here. So with that selected, I'm going to click continue. And then rather than use a new virtual disk, I am going to click this checkbox to use an existing virtual disk because that's what you've just downloaded and extracted. And I'm going to click on choose that virtual disk. So in this window, I am going to move to where I extracted that file to. So that's in my temp folder. And then down here in QDE, it's this VMDK file here. And for the purposes of my setup, I'm going to say make a separate copy of that virtual disk. So it's completely standalone from the image that I've just downloaded. I'm going to click choose here. And with that done, I'm going to click continue. I get a summary here. And we want to customize the settings as well, because there's a couple of things we want to change here. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a name, which is going to be Choco Server. And I'm going to click save. And with that done, it's going to take a copy of that VMDK file that I specified as the input, and it's going to bring it over so it's a standalone copy. So if I wanted to use that VMDK file, source file for anything else, I can, but I've now got a standalone copy that is going to be the focus of QDE going forward. So once that's done, we're just about there. We've got a couple of other things we need to do, and then we will be able to start actually using QDE. So what it's done here is it's brought up the running instance, or the instance that can be run. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the memory profile and the number of CPUs. So the recommendation is to use 4 cores and to give it 8 gig of RAM. So I'm just going to put that in. I'm going to jump back up here. I'm going to have a look at the hard disk for this as well. So the base image, in order to be able to get everything installed and still make it shippable, we made the base image 30 gigabytes. But in terms of what our recommendation is, we're going to suggest that you bump that at least to 100 gigabytes, because as you start adding more packages to it, doing different things with it, you're going to quite quickly go through the 30 gigabytes. So we're going to change that to 100 gigabytes here, and then what we're going to do is make sure that the OS in the hard drive within the operating system has actually expanded to account for that as well. So I'm going to hit apply there. So it's expanding the virtual disk, and once that's done, I'm going to start up the running instance and check to see if the hard drive has been expanded. And I'm also going to make a point of installing the VMware tools just to make the running instance of this machine a little bit easier to work with, rather than using the default mouse movements and being able to share files, etc. So once that's finished expanding, shouldn't take too much longer, I'll go ahead and start the VM up. So let's just hold on here and wait for that. So now that that's expanded, I will go ahead and press play here and start the VM up. So I'm going to move this one out of the way so that we don't get a duplicated display of the VM. And I'm just going to let this VM boot. And like I say, we'll just check to make sure that the base image has the VMware tools installed. And once that's done, we'll make sure that the hard drive has expanded to take up that full 100 gigabytes that we gave it. So let's just wait for Windows to boot here. So here we go. And what I'm going to need to do here is sign in. So I'm just going to go up to send Control-Alt-Delete here. And I'm going to log in with the administrator password. So I'm just going to type in the password here. Now, the password that you're going to need to use will have been sent to you in the email that you got providing access to the QDE image. And what you're going to need to do is immediately you're going to need to change that. So we're set up for secure by default. So we don't like to have access to this information. So we encourage an immediate change to the password. So I'm just going to try and get a password that matches the security requirements of the image. And with that done, I will then be able to log in to this machine. So as I mentioned, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that the tooling for VMware is available. So I'm going to click on install here. So what that does is it mounts a drive and then it installs the VMware tools from that. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on the setup.exe here to kick off that installation. Now this will require a reboot of the machine, but we'll let that finish and then we'll go ahead and get that rebooted. We're just going to go, I tend to go with a complete, but the option is up to you. Now with that installed, we will be prompted to reboot. Let's dismiss all of these things that are coming up. And once all the drivers are installed, we will then be able to proceed. There we go. So I'm going to click finish, and there we are. We're prompted to restart. So let's do that. And once this reboots, we will check the hard drive. And if that is all working, then I think we are at a point where we can move on to the next stage. And that will be the topic for the next video. So if you are using a different hypervisor, the steps that you would have followed here obviously will be different. But the important thing here is getting to a point where we have the base image imported into your hypervisor. And once we've got that, then we can start configuring it. So I'm just going to do a quick check here just to make sure that this has got a full 100 gigabytes, which it does. So it's already expanded. So with that done, that's all that is going to be in this video, and I will see you in the next one.